Shalum. Shalom and welcome. Welcome to Return to the Promised Land, the Judgment Series. If you're tuning in for the first time, my name is Symmanayah. This is the 33rd installment of the Judgment Series. Its focus is on Apple of his eye. I say again to you, Shalom, my brothers and sisters. If you are an individual who seeks to do the will of the Almighty Father, I consider you my brother or my sister. I consider you my family. My brothers and sisters, in times I hear, I cannot stress enough that the things we are learning, the things we are discovering are preparing us to equip us for intense times to come. Soon and very soon, my brothers and sisters, we will begin to realize that the Spirit of Yahuah, sent in Yahusha's name, is working within us and through us and one towards another. Yasharal, O Yasharal, commonly known as Israel, set apart Israel. The time is at hand. And I'm not talking about a land, so I'm saying this to those who just turning in. I'm talking about an awakening nation, a set-apart nation of children of Abba Yahuah. The time is at hand when we will begin to discover things that are real regarding the promises from the Almighty Father, things that pertain to now and going forward. We will begin to witness why judgment will be executed on matters necessary to bring about the maturity required to bring us into obedience to the living Father, required to prepare us and equip us for being gathered from the four corners of the earth, or being persecuted for Yahusha's name, or being martyrs for Yahusha's name. End times will prove to equip us to look physical death in the face and not be afraid. We will begin to witness why judgment must begin at the house of Yahuah, as it is written. We will begin to witness why judgment will be executed on matters necessary to bring that maturity that is required. Soon and very soon, we will begin to experience widespread how in discernment our minds can receive living instructions quick as the Spirit of the Most High stirs our spirit, quicker than we can put them into words sometimes. End times will prove that our spiritual lives will undergo discipline that will produce the 144,000 Hebrews, along with a great multitude who will make up the gathering from the four corners of the earth. We will begin to receive living instructions with proof that will remove all doubts as to what is expected of us individually and collectively. It would be wise, my brothers and sisters, to recognize why our senses must become quickened to receive all that will prove to equip us with fulfilling what is written regarding the final exodus or end time martyrdom. Time will prove there is much work to be done. Time will prove that there are processes and specific details that require us to obey the living orders from Abba Yahuah in Yahusha's name. While in listening to this song, the other day I was listening to a song that a group was singing, and I heard them mention Apple of his eye. For some reason, I've heard people talk and I've heard people read scriptures about Apple of his eye. But this particular instance, my spirit was quickened. I was directed to look up the passage that uses the words apple of his eye. I am compelled to believe that it was the spirit of my teacher, Yahusha Mashiach, providing some amazing insight to the words apple of his eye. And now I present that information to you as I believe I am directed. Let me bring your attention to what I'm talking about. I want to read Deuteronomy 32nd chapter 32, verse 8 through 10. It says, when the Most High gave the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the boundaries of the peoples according to the number of the children of Yasharal. For the portion of Yahuah is his people, Yaakov his allotted inheritance. He found in a wilderness and in a wasted howling desert. He encompassed him. He made him understand. He watched over him as the apple of his eye. Deuteronomy 32:10 concludes with the Most High watching over Yaakov as he was the apple of his eye, as the apple of his eye. My brothers and sisters, the question that ignited in my spirit as I was brought to read this, the question that came to mind while I was praying was, have we considered the journey of an apple? Who among us give thoughts when someone say an apple? Do we just say, oh, that's a fruit? I like apples. I don't like apples. I like the red one. I like the Granny Smith for baking pies. But how many of us give thought to what does it mean, apple of his eye? What also stirred in my mind, in my spirit, was the cliche, what came first, the chicken or the egg? But for some reason, my spirit was directed using the same question, but saying, what came first, the tree or the seed? Same can be said about the apple. What came first, the seed or the apple? Carrying the seeds. And I want to direct your attention, and I mentioned this once before, this particular passage, Genesis 1, 11 and 12. Specifically 12, we can see where in the Most High creation of plants, they say the plant, it lets us know that 11 and 12, let me read it. The Almighty One said, let the earth bring forth grass and the plant that yields seed and the fruit tree that yields fruit according to its kind, whose seed is in itself on the earth. And it came to be so. And the earth brought forth grass, the plant yields seed according to its kind, and the tree that yields fruit, whose seed is in itself according to its kind. And the Almighty One saw that it was good. I read this, my brothers and sisters, because I am compelled to believe that the tree came first, that the seed came before the apple. I ask again, when we think about the apple of his eye, have we considered the journey of an apple, its origins, or its purpose? My brothers and sisters, it was as though the Spirit of Yahusha was informing me that the tree came before the seed. It was as though the Spirit of Yahusha was making alive the scriptures that I read and instructed me to consider the journey of an apple. How that the apple had seeds for reproducing its species across the lands. Notice, my brothers and sisters, for the apple to come from the tree had to be created. The tree had to be planted. The tree went through a series of processes to reach maturity and be healthy enough to produce fruit. Now, many of you might say, well, what does this have to do with anything? The scriptures use the word apple of his eye. I say to you, O Yasharal, when we begin to look at the scriptures and become able to discern the life in them and to see how much we can gain from the scriptures beyond the literal. There are some that would like to keep things so simple that they think it's bottled up. But the question is, my brothers and sisters, are we aware that Yahusha Mashiach said, I'll give you water and you'll never thirst, endless water? He didn't say, I'll give you X amount of books in the scriptures, and once you read those from Genesis to Revelation, that's it. He said endless water. So I say to you, my brothers and sisters, there are many details. There are many things we can gain from the seed to the tree to the branches, to the water, to the fresh air that's needed, to the caring of a tree to produce the apple. For the apple to withstand the elements in order to be functional. So as we see the journey of an apple, my brothers and sisters, so it will be with us. We, as the apple of Yahuwah's eye, we will face journeys, and we will come to understand the dynamics of how the scriptures can come alive and give us so much more than what we think is there. I'm referencing the endless water, endless drink. I'm referencing John 4:13 and 14. John 4:13 and 14, where Yahusha said to her, everyone drinking of this water shall thirst again. But whoever drinks of the water I give him shall certainly never thirst, and the water that I give him shall be in him a fountain of water springing up into everlasting life. My brothers and sisters, his word is as water. And if you look at Ephesians 5:26, it says, in order to set it apart and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word. You see, my brothers and sisters, it is important for us to understand that for us to grow stronger, we will continue to get fresh words and instructions from the Most High, words that will align themselves with what is written and more. There will be no contradiction, only to those who cherry pick and undiscerning and unlearned and go on the attack. Let me also read this, my brothers and sisters. Psalms 1:1-3. It said, blessed is the man who shall not walk in the counsel of the wrong, shall not stand in the path of sinners, and shall not sit in the seat of scoffers. But his delight is in the Torah of Yahuah, and he meditates in his Torah day and night. For he shall be as a tree planted by the rivers of water, that yields its fruit in its season, and whose leaf does not wither, and whatever he does prosper. Delight in the instructions from the Almighty Father, meditating day and night on the instructions of the Almighty Father. Prayer is more than just speaking. It's also seeking to discern and listen. My brothers and sisters, let me remind you, yes, there's the literal in scriptures, but there's so much more in the spiritual when they are made alive. And as we begin to discern them, and someone share a portion of scripture that gives us something different than what we got when we read it, let us ask the question, can it connect? Can it join? Can it reinforce set apartness? Or does it actually attack and conflict? For that's a different story. But if it joins, if it connects, if it do no harm to what is literal, then know that we are experiencing what Yahusha meant by his word, by having that endless water, by seeing the life in his words. My brothers and sisters, if you read the parable of the seed in Matthew 13th chapter, verses 24-30, let me share that with you as well. Another parable he put before them, saying, the rain of the heavens has become like a man who sowed good seed in his field. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed darnel among the wheat and went away. And when the blade sprouted and bore fruit, then the darnel also appeared. Some might say tares. And the servants of the master of the house came and said to him, Master, did you not sow good seed in your field? And where did this darnel? He said, an enemy did this. And the servant said to him, do you wish then that we go and gather them up? But he said, no. Lest we gather up the darnel and uproot the wheat with them. Let both grow together until harvest time. You see, my brothers and sisters, there are challenges just to make it to fruit, just to make it to be the apple of his eye. My brothers and sisters, there's another example, and if you bear with me, there's another example when there was seed sown and some hit stony ground. And let me see if I can find that. So bear with me, O Yasharal. There's another passage. And it talks about some seeds fell on stone. Some seeds fell on fertile ground. And for the sake of time, my brothers and sisters, I'll just press forward. But there's an example where he talked about some seeds falling on stony ground. And he gave it, and then he explained how the ones that found good soil grew. And he talked about how the word was snatched. I don't know if it said word was snatched or taken. May have been taken. But case in point, my brothers and sisters, it eludes me that passage right now, and you may be able to find it. Case in point, my brothers and sisters, to be the apple of Yahuwah's eye, it requires going through processes, going through. It would be wise for us to understand that the things that we face, there's something to learn. We will grow to discern all that is required to be an apple of his eye. maturity. And in that maturity, we demonstrate set apartness such that others that are unlearned or undiscerning may learn, may receive from us as we are led by the Spirit of Yahuah. In Yahusha's name, as he works through us, we will find ourselves contributing to set apart maturity across the spectrum of the body of Yasharal. Apple of his eye, my brothers and sisters. Let us beware of those who would take you off the set apart path by introducing arguments as to whether the original scripture used the word apple or not. Examine the words that they present. Even if they said it wasn't an apple, it was a pomegranate. If it was any type of fruit that can be consumed by man and that contributed towards life, it still went through processes where it required a foundation, a firm root system, water, fresh air, care. And that's the same thing that can be said about us. We require a strong root, a strong foundation. And that foundation is in Yahusha HaMashiach. Know this, my brothers and sisters, all that is necessary to cause us to begin practicing listening to how the Spirit of Yahusha develops us, how he makes the scriptures alive, how he proved that they can be endless instructions to receive from him as we read scriptures over and over again. We will discover how among the simplest of things around us are important and contribute to our maturity. We will begin to discover how the Spirit of Yahuah can indeed sharpen us, and how his word is sharper than any two-edged sword, as it is written in Hebrews 4:12 and 13. My brothers and sisters, we will discover how things will prove to be necessary. Even some of the things we think may be simple or mundane contributes towards building us strong so that we reflect a position of being the apple of his eye. In times will prove to be severe, we will face some of the most toughest decisions ever imagined. But the times will come when we will endure. We will prove to have the fortitude and strength to fulfill what is expected. You see, end time prophecies come with demands and expectations. It's not about, well, can you do this for me, please? It's not about you saying, oh, would you do this? If you won't do this, I don't know. No, there are some living orders. And he knows how to humble us to where we cry out, Abba Yahuah, what would you have me to do? To when we cry out, why? What? How? Who? My brothers and sisters, we will discover that the promises made by the Almighty Father regarding his discipline, the discipline that is necessary to make us reflect ourselves and set apartness as the apple of his eye. Let us press forward with a ready mind, body, and soul to worship and obey the living orders of the Almighty Father. Let us prepare to adapt and adjust as movement begins to ramp up in the days ahead. I say to you, it has begun for some already. For others, the time will come where we'll prove that our spirits are being stirred to press into what is expected. Yasharal, oh, set apart Yasharal. As the apple of his eye, it comes with expectations and demands that will prove to be real in the coming days like never before. I say to you, my brother, my sister, my family, be encouraged. Continue to seek earnestly the living instructions, the living orders that come from the Almighty Father in Yahusha's name. I encourage you to establish a ready mind, body, and soul. Ask questions. Generate discussions. Seek to discern the difference between what is real, what is set apart versus what is wicked. I say to you, O Yasharal, have we considered the journey of an apple? Have we considered what processes it went through for the apple to reach our hands? Have we considered the seeds of the apple so that they can be planted to plant more trees? Have we considered us, those who died before us, for the sake of set apartness, to preserve it so it can reach our ears? Have we considered the journey that is expected? Have we considered the responsibilities that we have from all that we've received from the Almighty Father to pass on to next generations? End times are here, my brothers and sisters. There's much work to be done. What say you, O listener, to these words? And if you have listened to the redundancy, if you have listened to the words that I presented, being repetitive and all, I salute your patience. For as I believe, a warning will repeat itself over and over again till it's no longer necessary. Until next time, my brothers and sisters, my name is Symmanayah. I salute you as my set apart brother and sister. I salute your patience and fortitude. I pray for you in your household, that you grow in discernment and witness all that the Most High have for you and your household and Yasharal. Until next time, I bid you Shalum.